hello. I'm hoping I'm live. It's Friday, it's 2 o'clock. It's not crackerjack. But here I am in my craft room again, ready to do some crafting with you and hopefully some chat as well. Let me just check my iPad and see if I'm there. Hoping I'm live, chat as well. And I am, and Mary's here already. Hi Mary, lovely to have you. Okay, I'm really sorry, I'm just going to put hand cream on again. I just didn't have a moment before, and I don't know how many times I've washed my hands today. I've had various customers come to collect class packs. I've had UPS come and deliver something. I've had the postman come, and it's lovely to see them all, but every single time you go and wash your hands for however many seconds it is, 2 lots of happy birthday anyway, and oh dear me, my skin is so dry. Okay, so Rosie's here too. Rosie used to love crackerjack. Yeah, me too, Rosie. I never did get crackerjack pencil though. Lynn's here. Hi Lynn, and Gillian's here. Hello, really nice to have you. Okay, I haven't got my light on yet. I'll put that on in a minute. If things get dark and I've forgotten to put the light on, please type in a comment and remind me to put my light on. Oh dear, I cannot believe another week's gone by. Where has this week gone? I've been super busy this week. It's been a bit crazy. I've been helping out a family member with some hospital trips, which was completely unplanned. They're okay, fortunately, but might easily not have been. And that means that I've been working till about 11 o'clock at night to try and get things done. So I think I've pretty much caught up this week, thank goodness. But I'm very glad not to have such a mad week next week. It'll be busy, but I don't think it'll be as crazy as this week has been. And tomorrow I'm doing an all-day training day with my team. I'm not running it or organising, I'm just attending, so that will be a real treat. I know I'm going to learn lots. There'll be lots of crafting. So yeah, that will be really nice. And I'm going to see my daughter on Sunday, which of course is Mother's Day. She lives in Southampton, which is about 20 miles from where I live. So we will be visiting outside, so I will get to see her. But she sent me the most beautiful flowers, which arrived today from Bloom and Wild. So they're looking absolutely gorgeous already. I know they're going to kind of open up and improve over the next few days. And some champagne truffles. So I'm feeling very lucky indeed. Okay, let me catch up with the comments. Mary says hi to everyone, as does Ruth. Hi Ruth, Katie's here, hello. And any more? Oh, lost the comments, there they are. No, that's it. So nice group of people so far. So I'd like to know what you've been doing this week. Has anybody done anything exciting? Probably not, but have you? We went to the dentist, which is absolutely not at all my favourite thing. I literally have to take Valium to be able to get there. But I did get there. Everything was fine, luckily. But I realised sitting in the dentist's waiting room how normal that felt. I mean, yes, we were all wearing masks, but it was really peculiar to be out of the house, to be in a building that was busy with people coming in and out. The whole thing was completely weird. So yes, so I don't know if you've done anything this week, but let me know if you have. Let me know if you've been crafting. Rosie, was it today? I think you had a very busy craft class. I know you've been doing that. Pauline's here. Hi, Pauline. Lovely to have you. And Belinda. Really, really nice to have you all. So I think that about sums up my week. I'm waiting to see what you've all been doing. The sun is shining here at the moment, but it's been really windy this week and we've had so much rain. It tipped with rain this morning. I hope you've had better weather. I'm not sure the weekend's going to be an awful lot better, but never mind. I shall take my umbrella and my raincoat to sit outside with my daughter. Belinda's been to the dentist too. Aren't we lucky, Belinda? Rosie said, yes, her class was today. She thinks her ladies enjoyed it. I'm sure they will have done, Rosie. The projects looked absolutely gorgeous. Katie's been to the dentist too. Pauline's dentist makes them sit outside. Really? Gosh, oh no, we went in as normal. I mean, they've got the front door open and you have to sanitize your hands and have your temperature taken before they'll let you go in. And then my dentist's actual room is upstairs. So upstairs we were allowed to sit in the waiting room, but they've taken away most of the chairs. So you've got 2 meters between you. Yeah, and you have to wear your mask the whole time, of course, except when the dentist actually got their hands in your mouth. But other than that, it was relatively normal. The hygienist isn't doing what she used to do. I think they've got to be very careful, haven't they, with procedures that create aerosol or something. So that was a bit kind of old school hygiene, but it was fine. And the best thing of all is I don't have to go back for 6 months. So Pauline's saying that the class was great fun. I think that's what you're talking about, Pauline. Belinda's been making lots of cards for the NHS. Well done, Belinda. Lynn had lunch with her bubble friend on Wednesday, their first outing since Christmas. Wow, that must have been really, really nice. I don't know about the rest of you, but I find if I actually go and do anything now, like outside of the house, I get home and I am absolutely exhausted. I don't know what it's going to be like when we start meeting with people more normally and doing more things. I think it's going to take a little bit of getting used to. I've got so used to kind of getting up, coming to my craft room and doing a day's work and, you know, cooking the meal and going to bed, and that's really all we do. Lorraine's here and so is Sandy. Hello ladies, nice to have you. Katie says her dentist is very normal too, although they are taking precautions. Yeah, oh well, just Polly's dentist then, who's being super careful. I guess it does depend how big your waiting room is, how big your premises are, doesn't it, as to whether you can have people in there or not. My dentist is quite a big one. They've got several dentists, hygienists, various specialists who work there, quite a big reception team as well. Lynn says Rosie's class was great too. Well done, Rosie. You've got some very happy customers there. Excellent stuff. All right, so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to start off by talking just very briefly about glue. That's an essential subject if you're a crafter. And then my kind of topic for crafting was mini gift to $1 million. Now it really should have been £1 million, shouldn't it? Because we're in the UK and we deal in pounds sterling, but it just didn't sound quite the same as mini gift to $1 million. So really that's going to be all about how to make a really small, not expensive token gift to look like a lot more. The kind of thing that perhaps you might give to a teacher, to your postman, to anybody really who you want to say just a little bit more of a thank you to. So that's what I'm going to be doing, trying to just dress them up and showing you some ideas for no matter what your little gift is, what you could do. Katie's saying, what are the details for making cards for the NHS, please? Do you have any details you could type in, Belinda? That would be really great. I don't have them to hand. Prudence is here. Hi, Prudence. Nice to see you too. And Candy's here. We've got a full house today, I think, haven't we? Okay, so I'm going to cover over the camera, turn you down to my desktop, and I'm going to start talking about glues. Find my little post-it note just to cover you up so you don't get motion sick as I move you around. Okay, so it's all gone blue. And just bear with me while I fiddle around and change things. Rosie would like the NHS details as well, so if you happen to have those handy, Belinda, it would be brilliant. Thank you. Okay, I'm just changing the settings on my phone so you can see my desktop. Nearly there. Move my microphone because it seems to pick up better when I've got my camera down on my desk if I put the microphone on my camera stand. Right, let me move that. Let's see what you can see. I might have to twiddle around things a little bit. I think you've got an electric lead in your view, which is not very decorative. Okay, that may not be too bad actually. I'm just going to move my grid paper down a little bit. Okay, so I've got my catalogue here. This is the Annual Catalogue. This is the one with all the glues in. And if you're not sure which catalogue that is, it's got this on the cover. Can't get it all in shot, but it's got this picture on the cover, and you can always tell if it's the current one because, again, can I get this for you? On the spine, it's got the dates. So this one is the 3rd of June 2020 to the 3rd of May 2021. Okay. It's very faint on your screen, but hopefully that will help you to actually have a look at your catalogue and check that it's the right one. And some of our glue offerings did change this time round, so if you've only got an old catalogue, you won't necessarily have everything I'm talking about in there. If you don't have a demonstrator that gets you catalogues and you would like to get onto my list, then just let me know and I'll happily send you out the catalogues. I'm just putting some blue tack underneath my grid paper because it's sliding everywhere. There we are, that's better. All right, so I'm on page 162, and I'm just going to slowly work my way down the list of glues and tell you all about them. Okay. All right, Belinda's put in a thing. She's not sure she can put the link in here. It's in my Paper Crafters Facebook page. So those of you who do my classes will be able to find it there. So I think, Rosie, you're on that one, aren't you? Katie is not in that group because she does other classes. It's also on the United Kingdom demonstrator page. So Katie, you're a UK demo. You will be able to find it there on the United Kingdom, Stampin' Up United Kingdom demonstrators page. But let Belinda know if you can't find it and she will repost it. Thank you very much, Belinda. That's super helpful. I will try and find it and add it to the comments here at the end. And then those of you who are neither a Stampin' Up demonstrator nor one of my class attendees, you'll have it as well. All right, so first up on the adhesives page are adhesive sheets. Now I talked about these quite a lot last week, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about them, but they are essentially a sheet of double-sided glue. It's got backing paper on both sides. On one of the sides, the backing paper is split so that you can peel it off easily. And this is absolutely perfect to use if you are going to be die cutting shapes. Now it'll work on any kind of die cut shapes, but it's particularly good for very detailed ones. So if you've got lacy images, foliage, words, those kinds of things, cut a piece of card that's going to be big enough for you to die cut, and then peel back enough of the backing tape to expose a big enough area of adhesive. Press your card on there, and then I just trim that off. So I've then got a piece of card with adhesive on one side. Then you can die cut that as normal, and then peel off the backing from the back of your card and just stick it down. It becomes a sticker basically. So it's absolutely fantastic. So that is foam adhesive sheets. They are 12 inches by 6 inches and you get 12 sheets in a pack, so that's enough for quite a lot of die cutting. The next one on the list is the fine tip glue pen, which looks like this. When you get it, the bit that you undo to get at the glue is the white part. The black will also unscrew, but don't unscrew that. Just unscrew the white section. And that will then reveal, hopefully you can see it if I bring it right up to the camera, a little metal applicator tip. And you probably can't see, but it does have, oh, I'm not even getting it in shot. There we go, that's better. It does have a little hole in it, very, very narrow. And the lid has a pin. There we go, I'm having trouble working out where to hold things for you to see them today. It's got a little pin in it which will go into that hole and help stop it blocking. The easiest way I find to actually put the lid on is to put my finger there and then just slide the pin down my finger and it will go into the hole, she says, fairly easily. Of course I can't do that now, can I, because I'm doing it on camera. There we are. Slides in there and then that will screw back up. This is a really liquid glue. I don't know if you can see it tilting in the container there. It's very, very runny. It's extremely good for putting onto very detailed shapes. So the die cuts we were talking about before, you can use it on there because you can put tiny little dabs or lines of the glue very accurately with that fine tip applicator. It will also hold things like metal embellishments really well, but it'll take a while to dry. And the other thing you can use it for is if you want to get a hard glossy coating onto something. So let's say you've stamped, I don't know, a button and you punch it out and you want it to look like a shiny button, you can put a layer of this glue all the way over the top, let it harden, it will take a while, and then it will give you a sort of a domed glossy appearance. However, it is a water-based glue, so you will need to use something like Stays-On ink if you're going to use that technique. Otherwise, the water in this will mix with the water in your stamping ink and you'll just get a smudgy mess. But fine tip glue pen. I have customers who absolutely love this and use it all the time, and I have customers who can't get on with it at all. So it's a bit of a Marmite glue, I think, but it's absolutely fantastic at gluing fine die cuts, and it's also good, as I say, for things like metal embellishments. Multi-purpose liquid glue is next. Now this is my absolute favourite. I use this on pretty much every project I do. It's a rubber-based glue. If you have a latex allergy, therefore it's not suitable for you, but for everybody else it's brilliant. I think every crafter should have this on their desk. Because it's rubber-based, it's not got the water content that something like PVA glue or tacky glue or the fine tip glue has. Therefore, if you're trying to glue paper and card with it, it's not going to buckle. If the glue you use makes your card and paper buckle, it's because it's a water-based glue. This one won't do that. The other thing you can do with it, and I'm just going to reach across for a bit of paper, is you can use it as a temporary adhesive. So you can put a little bit down and let it go clear, and I'll leave that aside and I'll show you in a minute when it's dried. It will go clear, but it stays tacky because it's a rubber-based glue. You can then use that a little bit like you would a post-it note. Now, a word of caution here, if you put it on a delicate surface, it will tear it. I usually take a little bit of the sticky off that temporary adhesive by just dabbing it on my clothing, something like that first, just to make sure that I don't tear the surface. But you can use it once it's dried as a temporary adhesive. If you wanted to attach something like, let's say, a bookmark to a card, you could put a tiny amount of this, let it dry, stick your bookmark on top, and then the recipient would be able to take the bookmark off without damaging it. Lynn says she's got the fine tip glue. It's great for tiny pieces like the wreath. Yes, there was a wreath card in Rosie's class this morning that Lynn made, so it's really good for that kind of thing. In fact, there's a picture, I think it's probably the same wreath that Lynn is talking about in the catalogue, this one here. Here they're showing it having been die cut with the adhesive sheet on the back, but it's also great for with the fine tip glue on it. The other thing that not everybody knows about this multi-purpose glue is that it has two tips to it. The one I use almost all the time is a fine tip, and it's labelled on the bottom as pen tip, and the other end is labelled as broad tip. So there you've got like a spreader, I think it's made of silicone, something like that. So if you've got a big area to glue, you can use this end, and that will spread that glue out really, really well for you. It stands up beautifully on your table, but if you want to use the fine tip, once you've used a little bit of the glue, there isn't enough in the top. That means that you have it straight away when you open it. So I do tend to store mine upside down. So that's just a thought if you really like this glue, and you don't want to have to wait while you shake it down. This is nearly dry but not quite. So that's multi-purpose liquid glue. Mini glue dots are next. Now these really are mini, they're very small. I'm hoping that you can see that. The size of it. What can I put next to it? There we go. Let's put a ballpoint pen tip next to it. So hopefully that gives you some idea of how small it is. These are very hard to find actually if you're shopping or in Hobbycraft or something like that. They are absolutely excellent. They're really strong. They're a very good size because they're just not too big. Lots of the bigger ones you have to cut in half or roll them up to use them, but these are great. They are fantastic for holding heavy embellishments, maybe metal charms, something like that. They're also brilliant for holding ribbon. A liquid glue will often soak through ribbon to the front and spoil the way things look, but these won't. These will hold bows in place, or you could put one behind the ribbon when you stick it across a card front, say, or around a box. They're absolutely fantastic. A roll of them lasts for absolutely ages. When you come to use them, the easiest way to use them is to press whatever it is you want to have the glue dot on it onto the glue dot, like that. The glue dot will come off, and that's much easier. If you try and pick it up, even with a take your pick tool or your scissors or something, they still can tend to stick where you don't want them. You can also use them stuck down and then tip glitter on top for little round blobs of glitter or the gilding flakes that we've got in the catalogue, the gilded leafing. That's absolutely beautiful done on there. You can get lots of little dots of gold that way if you want. Rosie said it took her 2 years to find out that the multi-purpose glue had a spreader on the other end. Yep, she was a demo as well, so not everybody knows that. Tear and tape adhesive. Oh, Faye's here. Hi, Faye. Lovely to have you. This is a standard double-sided tape. What's really good about it is that you can tear it, so you don't need to get your scissors to it. And then you just stick it down, press it down well, and then lift off the backing paper. And then you can stick on there whatever you like. You can also use this with glitter or gilded leafing flakes, and you will get then a line or a border of glitter or gold across your project, so that's worth knowing. It's a good width. I think it's 1/4 of an inch. Let me just check. Yeah, 1/4 of an inch wide, which is not too thin and not too thick. It's strong, so you can use it for boxes and other 3D projects. So that's tear and tape. So then we've got sister and brother, if you like, Stampin' Seal and Stampin' Seal Plus. Now, if you remember Snail, Stampin' Seal has replaced Snail. It's a stronger glue and there's more on a roll than there was with Snail, which is great. It's still refillable, so this is the whole thing if you like, but then you can buy a refill and just slot it in when it's finished. It works slightly differently in use to Snail. It feels a little bit different in your hand. It rolls along in just the same way, but it doesn't click. So there we go, silent gluing, whereas we're used to the click with the Snail. And then when you finish to break it, just lift it up. I work a lot slower with this. With Snail, I would dash it on really, really fast. But with Seal, it's much better if you just go fairly slowly and then just carefully lift it up, and it will break off beautifully. I wouldn't use this for boxes or kinetic cards with a lot of movement in them, but for your standard matting and layering, this is a great glue, really clean, easy to use with children. If you do find that when you've pulled it off the glue has gone into strings a bit, you can just put your finger on the tip here and just pull that way. So if you've got the writing facing you, I'm putting my finger on the tip and I'm rolling my finger back towards my right, and that will just advance the tape and bring the glue back to the top so that you can then use it again as you were before. Belinda's saying tear and tape is her favourite for lots of things. Yeah, it's really great. And then Stampin' Seal Plus. If you remember Fast Fuse, this has replaced Fast Fuse. It's much superior to Fast Fuse. It's a lot easier to use. It comes in a dispenser, and again you can get a refill, and it also doesn't make a noise as you roll it along. It breaks very easily, and I don't know if you will be able to see this or not, but it goes down in almost like little tiles joined to each other. They're little oblongs, and across the tape there is a divide between each tile, which means that when you lift the dispenser up, it will break on the nearest divider between the tiles. It's really strong. It's great for moving cards, for boxes, for all those kinds of things. And these two refills will work in each other's dispenser, if you like. It's the same dispenser, it's just got different insides in it. So you can buy one of them as a whole and then get a refill of the other one and just swap them around. They come in reclosable bags. They've got like a zip at the back, at the top, you know, those press and zip sealings. So you can keep the refill that's not in use in the bag if you want. That's a way of saving a little bit of money. So these are both great glues. Practice a little bit with them when you first get them, because they feel a bit different in the hand and they break off a little bit differently to Snail and Fast Fuse. But my customers are gradually moving over to them and they absolutely love them. Alright, foam adhesive strips. So this is basically a 3D foam, but it comes in long strips. These measure 9 1/4 inches long. These are great for shaker cards. If you saw me do shaker cards here a while ago, I use these all the time on those. They're also really nice for any kind of work that you want to 3D. They are a little bit deeper than dimensionals. I think they are about 1/8 of an inch deep, yes. So the thickness is a little bit more, which sometimes is exactly what you want, for instance in shaker cards. But they're just conveniently cut into strips. I used to have to use the edging off dimensionals if I wanted to make a shaker card, but these are fantastic. But they're also really good for frames or anything else like that where you just need a long line of something that is dimensional. Stamping dimensionals and stamping mini dimensionals are fantastic. I'm sure you've all got these. They're 3D foam pads. They're a hexagon shape, which means that it's very easy to peel the back off. They're also a useful shape because they've got corners on them, or points anyway, that you can fit into the little corners or those kinds of areas on your project. So if you're sticking something down and it's got all sorts of little corners and points, you can pop these in so that they fit really well. You don't have to just pop them in the middle, which you do with some shaped foam pads. They come off the sheet really easily, they detach from each other really easily, and the backings are so simple to get off them. I can't do that because it's peeling off the backing sheet. Let's stick it down. The backing just comes off so easily. So that's the standard size, and then there is also a mini size. So I used to have to cut dimensionals up, but I don't have to do that anymore. So I've put them side by side on my finger. You can see the difference there. So every craft room needs dimensionals. And then also in the dimensionals family are black dimensionals. So these are brilliant if you're working with dark card, navy blue, dark green, black, dark grey, because they are cut from a black foam. And that means that if you use them and then you can kind of see sideways underneath your layers, they don't notice nearly as much as white ones do. Other than that, they're exactly the same as ordinary stamping dimensionals, but they also come in a mini, and in fact the pack has some large and some mini in, which is really handy. So there you go. That is black stamping dimensionals. Tuck those back in, otherwise I shall mix them up with my white ones. 2 more glues, foam adhesive sheets. Now again, I dealt with these last week, so I'm not going to talk an awful lot about them, but it's basically the same 3-dimensional foam as you have on dimensionals, but in a sheet. So it's not as deep as the foam adhesive strips, and it's really good for die cutting. So for instance, you can lay a strip of card on here, peel off the adhesive, stick your card on, and then die cut your shapes. Might be a word, might be letters, it might be a difficult shape altogether, and then you can just peel off the backing from the other side when you've die cut, stick it down, and you basically have got a 3D sticker of whatever it was that you cut. They're really, really useful. Fantastic. Belinda says you can also have hours of fun moving the dimensionals backing from all over the house. Oh, isn't that true? I mean, I'm sure if we went round everybody and said, where have you found the backing of dimensionals? All kinds of places. I know I found them down my underwear. I'm not going to get any more specific than that. I found them in bed. I found them in rooms of the house that I never ever craft in. All over the place. I found them on the patio. It's just unbelievable where they get. So if you found a dimensional backing anywhere entertaining, do please tell us. I'm going to go back to that little bit of multi-purpose glue that I stuck on here. It's got adhesive all over it now, but multi-purpose glue is here. So you can see that it's sticky. It's on my finger. And if I stick it down onto my grid paper, and avoid sticking any of the other bits of glue on there onto my grid paper. Let me just lift that up. That wasn't a very clever demonstration really, was it? There we go. All right, and then peel it off. It will peel off. It hasn't damaged my grid paper. So that is the multi-purpose glue, which I've allowed to dry, and then it becomes a temporary adhesive. And the last one on that glue page in the catalogue is cling adhesive. Now, I don't have any of this. The picture is like this. It's not very exciting, but it's basically a sheet with strips of adhesive across it. And this is the same adhesive that is on the labels which you stick on your stamps. When you buy red rubber stamps now and you have a label to stick on them, it's the same adhesive. So if you have the old style clear mount stamps, which didn't stay on the blocks nearly as well as the current ones do, you can get this and you can attach it to the foam side of your clear mount stamps, and you can then stick them on your blocks and they will stay in place absolutely beautifully. So that's really useful if you've got lots of the old clear mount stamps, or if you have wood mounted stamps and you are converting them to mount on clear blocks. You will need the foam to add on to those, and I'm not going to go into that here because it's a little bit more technical, but this adhesive will then stick to the mounting foam, so that's really good stuff. Okay, stories of dimensionals. Sandy doesn't reckon that dimensionals backings are as bad as the glitter fairy going through the house. That is probably true, Sandy. Glitter definitely has a habit of getting everywhere. Rosie's found a dimensional in a hotel room. And Triana's found one stuck to her dog's paw. Oh my goodness. Well, I don't know what to say to that, really. Oh, I've just had some tea, excuse me. At least the good thing, Andriana, is that you found it and your dog didn't eat it. Sandy wants to know if your dog enjoyed his crafting. Right, I'm going to move some things out of the way. And I realised that I've completely forgotten to tell you about what's new with Stampin' Up. So as I get my bits out, I'm going to just quickly talk you through those. So I've got all sorts of things in here. Right, so the annual catalogue, which is the one I've just been showing you, only goes through until the 3rd of May. After that, there will be a new one. And the list of all the things that are not going to carry over into the new catalogue is going to be released on the 24th of this month, March the 24th. So from the 24th of March through until the 3rd of May, all the items which are not going to carry over will only be available while stocks last. I will put that a link to that list on my Facebook page, and it'll go in my newsletter and everything else. But please be aware that that is coming up, and it's actually very, very soon. One of the things that's definitely going to retire are the in colours, the 2019 to 2021 colours. I know I mentioned this last week. That's Rococo Rose, Purple Posy, Terracotta Tile, Pretty Peacock and Seaside Spray. All those colours are going. If you love those colours and there are things you want, an ink pad or card or some of the ribbon that coordinates or anything else like that, order it before the 24th of March. Once the 24th of March rolls round, those items will only be while stocks last, and they will just go. Every year I have customers who are sad because they can't get the colours that they wanted, and every year I say please get them early. So if you love those colours, make sure that you get them early. Anything else I should tell you? Oh, I emailed a class list round yesterday, and with huge inefficiency I've managed to miss a class off it. The butterfly, the Brilliant Butterflies class is not on that list, so I am going to redo it and resend it. If you've noticed that and think I'm an idiot, you're right, and I will be adjusting the list and resending it. So that's just a pointer if you've received my class list. If you haven't got my class list and you would like one, let me know and I'll happily email it out to you. At the moment, all my classes are done by post and on video, so anyone anywhere in the country can do my classes. They're not obviously face-to-face at the moment, so please let me know. And I think that was everything I had to say. The only other thing is I will tell you what I'm doing next time, because I almost always forget at the end. So next time I'm going to be focusing on the Sand and Sea suite. I'll be showing you the next suite sampler, which is a small selection of the products from that suite, or I should say not so much a small selection, it's a big selection, but in smaller quantities. I'll be telling you about that and giving you some crafting inspiration using the Sand and Sea suite. So I'm looking again at your comments. So Faye says she's got a photopolymer set, 1 or 2 have stopped sticking. Do I recommend that the cling adhesive for those? No, Faye, but what I do recommend is get a little bit of warm water with just a little splash of some mild washing up liquid in it. Put your photopolymer stamps in and give them a good wash. Rub the front and back of them. Let them air dry if you can. Otherwise, just try and dab them with something that isn't going to leave too much lint behind, and you will discover that, like magic, they are as sticky as they were at the beginning. So that should work absolutely fine. It's not a good idea to do that if you've got the cling rubber stamps, because the foam in there will pick up some water. You don't want that. But photopolymer stamps, that's an absolutely brilliant way of bringing them back to life. Pauline has found dimensionals backing in her cat's fur, and Lynn's cat likes playing with them too. Goodness me. Gillian, thank you. Yes, I will send you the class list. Brilliant. Great, that sounds okay for your stamps then, Faye, cleaning those. Yeah, give it a go. I think it was Candy possibly, or somebody that I suggested that to a while ago, and it worked really well for her. Right, I'm just going to put my light on because it's got really dark outside. I think it's going to rain like anything in a minute. And I'm just going to stand up and put my overhead light on, so just bear with me a minute. Okay, so I've got some bits and pieces out, which are all in yellows. I'm just going to show you the kind of thing I'm going to do. So I've got a bar of chocolate here. This is lovely chocolate. It's also my daughter's favourite, so you can guess where this one is going to end up. And that's really nice. It's a big bar of chocolate. I would be delighted if anybody gave me a big bar of chocolate, believe you me. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to dress it up and make it just a little bit more exciting. I'll put this sideways because it fits better, but then I'll turn it around for you as well. Hi Marjorie, don't worry about being late. You can always play it again afterwards and catch up. That's absolutely fine. So I'll just turn this now. So I've actually wrapped it up. I'm using the Sand and Sea suite here actually. It's one of my absolute favourites. And I'm just going to show you very quickly how I made this and how you could measure your bar of chocolate and make one yourself. So I'll put that aside for now. So I'm going to work in yellow. So the first thing to do is to see how big is your bar of chocolate. The way this kind of packaging works is it wraps all the way around, it joins down the back, and then I've just sealed the top and the bottom. So it's really very simple. I need to know how tall my bar of chocolate is and how big it is all the way round, so I can cut my paper to the right size. For something that's a little bit awkward like this, I could get out my ruler, I could get out a tape measure. My tape measure is never where I want it. I actually quite often use a bit of ribbon or something to measure. So if I measure this, it is about, I can put that onto my grid paper, it's about 6.5 inches tall, and it's got slightly sloping ends, so I've kind of allowed for that. Faye says it's not big enough. Well, you know, big is better, isn't it, Faye? And then I'm going to measure round it, so with no overlap. Oops, there we go. That measures about 8 inches, just under 8 inches. So what I then do is I write my measurements down and I think about how much extra do I need to add for the overlaps. So for this one, I knew that I wanted to have space at the top and space at the bottom so that I could crimp this and seal it. And obviously I need an overlap for my paper at the back. I quite often use some scrap paper to make a mock-up first and check my overlaps, and I did do that with this. And I came up with a piece of paper that I needed to be 9 inches square. So that gives me, you can see if I put that against it, let's get it like that. So there we are. So you can see I've got 1 inch at the top that's longer than the bar. I've got the same at the bottom, and then I've allowed just over 1 inch for the overlap. So that gave me a piece of paper that was 9 inches square. So you can measure your chocolate bar, and let me just do a little sketch. I would even do a little sketch. So I can't remember the measurements of my bar, but I'll just make them up while I'm here. So let's say that my chocolate bar was 5 inches tall, and let's say all the way round it was 8 inches. Is that showing up? Just about. I think it's a bit small, but hopefully you can see it. So I know to that 5 inches I need to add an extra 1 inch here and an extra 1 inch at the bottom. So that means the height of my paper needs to be 1 plus 5 plus 1, which is 7 inches. So that's my height. And to wrap round I need 8 inches plus an overlap. So let's say I've got an inch for the overlap. So that's 8 plus 1, which is 9 inches around. So that means that the piece of paper that I would need to cut is going to look like this. So it's going to be 9 inches here and 7 inches here, and I'll have an overlap there, an overlap there for my ceiling, and then I'll also have an overlap on one end for my join. So I hope that makes sense. Doing that, you can work out for any bar of chocolate, from, you know, a tiny little fun size one up to an absolutely mega one. Belinda says she needs to try this. It's a great excuse to buy chocolate bars. It really is, Belinda, yes. Rosie said it's great for using up your pattern paper. It is, because when you've used it, you can buy more. we always want more, don't we? And Andriana says she's eaten so much chocolate today, but she hasn't tried that one before. This is lovely, without spending too much time. It's called Tony's Chocolonely. This is milk caramel sea salt. It's gorgeous. On the inside, there's all kinds of information. It's fair trade, and they put a lot back into the local areas. It tells you all about it inside the wrapper. And one thing I really like is, instead of being just marked into squares, it's all in these very kind of eccentric shapes. So it's lovely, and it's absolutely delicious chocolate. They do loads of flavours. So yes. All right, so back to the crafting. So this is 9 inches square. Now, to make the seal on the ends, I like to score that extra overlap, that inch on the end. I've done it at 1/8 intervals. Partly this is decorative, and partly it just seems to help the paper fold round, and it's a little bit more flexible. So I've done one end of this, but I thought I would do the other end to show you. Now, you can do this on your trimmer, but I really like to use my Simply Scored for this. Just have to get it in shot. I'll wait for my iPad to catch up, and then I should be able to show you. Let's move it along a bit. There, I think you can see that. So this is a square, so it doesn't actually matter which two opposite sides I scored. If you've got a rectangle, make sure that you're scoring the correct bits, because you want it to be what's going to be the top and bottom. And I'm just going to score this at 1/8 intervals, just going all the way down the paper. If you are scoring with a double-ended scoring tool or ball tool, make sure that for paper you use the large end. You're much less likely to poke it through the paper and make a hole that way. If you use the fine end, you might poke that point through the paper. The fine end is brilliant for card, where you need a little bit more pressure, but use the large end for paper. So I'm doing 8 of these. My overlap at the top is 1 inch. So if I'm scoring at 1/8 of an inch each time, that gives me 8 score lines. Sandy says she's only got 12 by 12 paper, so she needs to track down a big chocolate bar. Faye doesn't know what you mean by too much patterned paper. Honest angel. We'll believe you, Faye. Okay, so this is going to be the inside of my packaging, which is sad because I really love this pattern, but that's okay. I've got another sheet of the paper. I'm going to have the starfish on the outside. So I'm actually going to use my Stampin' Seal Plus for this, because it's just great for gripping. So I need to have one of my unscored edges with glue on it, because that's going to be my overlap down here, and then I need glue on the 2 bits that are going to be on the top and bottom. So I'm going to do all of that glue at once. Let's just advance this a little bit. There we are. So I found this is so sticky. If you try and go too quickly when you're putting it down, it can even tear the paper, because it grips the paper so hard that it won't roll if you go too fast. So if you just go slowly, it works fine. I'm going to put a couple of lines along those scored ends. There we go. Okay, I could also have used tear and tape for this, and the multi-purpose glue would have worked absolutely fine. The only thing with that is that you can find that you get oozing out of your joins, which you won't get with a dry adhesive like this. Hi Amanda, nice to have you here. Welcome, welcome. Okay, if you've just joined, I'm wrapping up a chocolate bar, which seems like a reasonable thing to do on a Friday afternoon. All right, so I'm just trying to get this so that my join is going to be fairly in the middle. That looks about right. And I'm going to make sure that my ends are even. So these ends here, I don't want there to be too much unevenness there. There we are. Pam's here. Hi Pam. She says she's late today. She'll watch the beginning on catch up. Absolutely, Pam. Lovely to have you. So my chocolate bar's in there. And I'm now going to close up. This is the ends I've got with the embossed lines. So I'm pressing it in the middle, and then I'll just slowly work out to the edges. And I'm trying to keep the edges at the top here, the outer edge, even. If they're not, I can just trim off any unevenness. It won't be the end of the world. And then press that down, and then I'm going to do the other end just the same. And I could have just wrapped this up like a parcel, of course, but I think this makes a really nice edging to it. There we are. Okay, so that is my bar of chocolate all wrapped up nice and safely, and it doesn't even necessarily look like a bar of chocolate. Now I did get some of the decoration ready in advance, because I didn't know if I would have time to be die cutting and all the rest of it, and also I did do a bit of a watercolour wash for my decoration, so I've cut out some of the little starfish from the dies that are in this Sand and Sea suite, and I just wanted to show you very quickly how I got the paper which I've cut them from. So I've got some watercolour paper here. You can see it's just an offcut from where I've been cutting something else. I'm going to brush some water all over it, and actually I should be working on a bit of paper. There we go. Otherwise I shall have water all over my grid paper, and then it'll get on everything. So it's watercolour paper. I'm brushing water all over with a water painter, and then I'm just going to use a couple of different colours of ink just to colour my watercolour paper. So I've squeezed the ink boxes, and that puts some ink onto the inside of the lid. I've got Daffodil Delight and Bumblebee here. You can use obviously whichever colours are going to work with what you're doing. I'm going to squeeze a little bit of water in there. It turns it into a lovely watercolour paint almost, although it's obviously ink. And then I'm just going to paint on there. And I just very haphazardly brush them on. And the darker and the lighter colours just kind of blend together. So that's all I do very, very quickly. That one is much paler than the one that I cut my starfish from. You can see this has got kind of dark areas and lighter areas. Make sure your watercolour paper is completely dry before you start die cutting. Otherwise it won't cut cleanly. Alright, so let me just move some of those bits out of the way. So I've got some Daffodil Delight ruched ribbon here. I'm just going to tie that round. Belinda's saying this is simple but very effective. Thank you, Belinda. I think it is too. It doesn't take too long to do. Obviously you can go to town on the decoration, but the actual wrapping is very quick and easy. Just trim those ends. we go. So I've got my little starfish. I'm going to stamp a thank you. So I'll use some bumblebee ink. And then I'm going to use the double oval punch to punch that out. Okay, so I want to use the plain oval and my card won't go all the way into the punch. So I'm just going to trim some off the bottom, then it'll slide all the way to the bottom like that. And I'm using my punch upside down so I can see exactly where my word is within that oval and punch it out so it's going to be in the right place. And then I'm going to punch a scalloped oval. I have both those shapes in this one punch to match, and I couldn't decide whether to use Daffodil Delight or whether to use Bumblebee. Daffodil is the same colour as the ribbon, but I did use Bumblebee ink just to make the words a little bit easier to read. I think I'm going to use Daffodil. So given that these are all in the same punch, the scalloped oval is exactly sized to fit my my plain oval. So brilliant. It's a lovely, lovely punch, this one, and it's so useful. It's big enough for many sentiments. It's not so big that a small sentiment gets lost. It's quick and easy to use. Absolutely fantastic. Alright, so that's my words. So I'm now just going to arrange that on here with some of these little starfish. So I usually kind of play around a bit first and think about where I want to put them. Something like that. So I'm going to stick that one down there first of all. Straighten that ribbon, there we go. Then I'm going to pop my thank you message on. I think I'm going to put that on dimensionals. I know they're here because I was showing you. Where have they gone? There they are. Okay, so there's that. I'm just going to curl my starfish a little bit with my bone folder, because I'm going to put some 3D foam on the back of these as well, and they'll just look a little bit more realistic with a curve on them. So I'm going to pop it on here. That means I need the foam on the bottom of the starfish, and I'm just going to stick the top legs flat onto the label, if that makes sense, because there's already the foam raising up the label, so I don't need any extra foam on that starfish for the top legs. There we are. And then something like that, I think. So pop a dimensional on the back of this as well. There we go. And for a final touch, I've got some of these beautiful Opal Rounds. If you haven't got these, why not? They're so pretty. They've got this kind of iridescent opal shine to them. They're really gorgeous with sort of pinks and greens in them. So I'm just going to dot a few of these around. I know I want one there. There's two sizes of these. There we go. So that is my first mini gift to $1 million. I know you can't see all of it quite on the camera. I'm just going to turn it sideways so hopefully you can see the whole thing. I'm also going to have some of my tea, which is rapidly going cold. There you go. So 2 gifts there, same thing inside, but I'm really pleased with those. I think they look lovely, and I think whatever paper you choose will look really, really nice on these. So let me put those aside, put some of this debris into the basket and get it out of the way. And I'll bring up something else. So this is my next mini gift. Okay, so this one rattles. Any guesses as to what's inside this one? Any thoughts? Lynn says, is the oval punch still available? Yes, it is, Lynn. It's in the spring and summer catalogue. So the new one, what do we call that now? We call it the January to June mini catalogue. So yes, it's in that catalogue. It's really useful. I'm sure you'll be pleased with it. Okay, so this is a really useful kind of packaging for anything that is rectangular or tubular. Faye, where are we? Oh, 3 guesses. So Lynn says Maltesers, Faye says mini eggs, and Rosie says Smarties. So the garland and the congratulations go to Faye because it is indeed mini eggs. Yes. So I'm just bringing in some bits and pieces and show you how I made this one. So this is very similar in a way. The difference is in how you seal up the paper. I've stamped on this patterned paper. It seals up the back as usual, or as normal, I would say, I suppose. I actually have done the same embossed lines on here, but you can see the top I've squashed flat as I did before, but the bottom is squashed at an angle, at a right angle to that. Okay, I think this is called very often a sour cream container. I have no idea why. Whenever I've bought sour cream, it's not in a container like this at all. It's in something that looks more like a yogurt pot or a cream container. I don't know if they sell sour cream in containers like this in America or anywhere else. If any of you know, please tell me. But basically, a closure one end that way and one end at right angle seems to be called a sour cream container. So I'll show you how I did that. Very, very quick and easy. Faye saying whoop whoop. Yes, no prizes, I'm afraid, Faye. I'm not sending you the mini eggs. They're too much enjoyed in this house for me to get away with putting them in the post. So I've got another piece of patterned paper here. Both of these papers come from the Artistry Blooms pack. They've got quite loud patterns on one side and more kind of subtle ones on the other side. So I measured my little box in a similar way to the way I measured the chocolate bar. I worked out how long it had to be to give me an overlap, how tall it had to be to give me an overlap top and bottom. And this is 6.5 inches across by 5.5 inches high. So the first thing I'm going to do is just do some of those score lines, and it's going to be the top and the bottom, so it's the long side that I need to score. Katie says America's sour cream is like this. Is it, Katie? Thank you. When I've shopped in America, I've only ever bought it in a tub. I've never seen a container like this, but that is good to know. Clears up that mystery. So I'm just going to do 5 of these score lines because I don't have such a deep overlap or closure on this shaped container. So there's 5 I've done there. Let's do the next 5. Again, I'm remembering to use the large end of my scoring tool because I'm scoring paper. If I was using card, I would use the smaller end. Okay. Now I'm going to stamp this paper. I actually had planned to stamp it before I scored it, and then I got all excited and forgot, but that's okay. So I've got Very Versailles here, which I absolutely love. I love the writing stamp on it. And I love those leaves in particular. I'm going to get those out. Now I've scored the top and bottom. If I stamp on that, I'm going to get a broken image, so I'm just going to stay away from that with my scoring and put that one down to experience. I'll be the only person who knows that I was going to stamp right to the edges. Well, you know as well, but you won't tell anyone, will you? So I've got garden green ink here, which is one of the greens in the paper, and I'm going to stamp it off and then stamp my paper. So I don't want it to be too dark. And I'm just going to go quite randomly. I want some down the bottom, but I don't want to be overlapping that scoring. So I'm just going to put a piece of scrap there. Like that. There we are. And that's probably enough of that image. And then I'm going to overstamp as well with some leaves. So I've got Granny Apple Green, which is one of my favourite greens. It's so bright and zingy. Going to try this at full strength and see how bright that is. Yeah, I think that will be fine. So I'm going to go over some of the writing. And I would have just stamped off the edge, but because I did my scoring first, because I wasn't concentrating, there we go. I'm just going to put a piece of scrap paper there so I don't end up with that broken image at the top. And then one coming in from this side. I think that will probably do it. There we go. There's all sorts of things that you can stamp onto patterned paper just to make it, first of all, a little bit more interesting, but secondly, just make it not look like it just came out of a paper packet. You can really put your own stamp on it. All right, so glue next. Exactly as before, I'm going to use Stamping Seal Plus again. So I'm going to be sealing the top and the bottom, so that's the ridged ones, and I'm going to be sealing the side. So I'm going to put this on both ridged sides of the paper and on one of the short sides. And it's absolutely falling down with rain now. I don't know if you can hear that. I've got a flat roof in my craft room. Let's advance this a little bit. There we go. Ooh, I've stuck my scrap paper to my paper. There we are. All right, so this is the top and the bottom. Here's my mini eggs. So again, I want to make sure that my join is going to end up fairly central on the back, so I might have to have a couple of goes at this. No, that's going to work fine, I think. And I just need to make sure that my ends are straight and even here, so make sure that they're going to overlap neatly, about like that. There we are. Now I haven't scored this because I think it works out fine without scoring it, even though this is a box. But certainly if I was doing a tube of Smarties, a tube of, I don't know, fruit pastels, a tube of hand cream, you know, anything like that, obviously you don't need to score that. So the top of this is up here. My writing does have a direction, so this is the top. So I'm going to squeeze the top flat, just as I did with the bar of chocolate. There we are. I haven't got quite so much overlap on this. It's a weeny bit trickier, but not much. There we go. And then the bottom, I want to go at right angles, so I'm going to turn it sideways and squeeze this way. I'm going to push my contents down a bit. There we go. I've got a double layer of paper, of course, with the overlap, so that will be a little bit stiffer just to push in there. There we go. Might have to trim a little bit off here. I haven't got it very even, but that's okay because I can show you how to rescue it. That's done it. There we are. So I can see a little bit of pink there. So I'm just going to bring in my scissors and just trim that. It's only a smidgen, but there we go. So that's my little package, and now I just need to decorate it. And I did have a little package of bits to decorate it with. Wonder what's happened to those. Have I left them in the basket, I wonder? No, apparently not. Are they under the stamps? There they are. Oh my goodness. I know perfectly well that I die cut some bits earlier, so I knew they must be here somewhere. Alright, so I've die cut a little rectangle and a little shape. These are both from the Stitch to So Sweetly dies. I love that set. You've got 4 dies which are fancy shapes, different shapes. They don't all nest, they're all different. And then I think it's 4 more which are scalloped stitched rectangles. They're absolutely beautiful. On here I used 2 of the stitched rectangles. So I'm going to stamp this one and find my thank you stamp. It's the same one I used before. This is from the Friends Are Like Seashells stamp set, and it's a really nice size. And I'm going to stamp that in Garden Green. Oh, thank you. You're all helping Sandy out. She asked about the stamp set. You're all saying Very Versailles. Yes, you're absolutely right. It's Very Versailles. If I put that there. Hopefully you can see it. And I'm just going to stamp my thank you. I've got to move it out of camera anyway, I think, so I can get my head over it and get it in the middle. Okay, so that's my little label with thank you stamped on it in Garden Green ink. I'm going to glue that on here. And then I'm going to attach that to my little box. There we go. I'm going to quickly stamp a little butterfly because, well, most things are better if you put a butterfly on them, let's face it. Okay, so this is Butterfly Gala I'm using here. There are so many different butterflies in here. I have actually cut my butterflies apart, shock horror. If you haven't seen that before, I think I ended up cutting them all apart in the end. So when you buy these stamps, you get a little butterfly and a big butterfly with the same patterning on the wings, and that is one stamp with those 2 butterflies on. So each of these pairs come as one single stamp. And the butterfly punches them both out. So if you want a large and a small butterfly, it punches both out together, and the spacing between them is perfectly fitted for the punch because they're all on one stamp. However, I found more and more I was only wanting one butterfly. And it was sometimes awkward to fit it in and just punch out the one butterfly. So I did actually perform surgery on my stamps. If I get a bigger block, I'll show you that it's very easy to reassemble the stamps. If I want to stamp them both and punch them both out, I can do that if I find the pair that's the exact match, which is this one. I didn't trim them, I just left, and you can see there's a little kind of lug on there, which is where the 2 stamps came together. And all I do is I just butt those 2 back together against each other on a block, and now they are as if they were the one stamp again, and the whole thing will punch out the 2 butterflies together from the punch. So don't be frightened to cut your stamps up. Okay, so I'm going to use Garden Green ink again. I've got some white card. And stamp that butterfly and then punch it out. There we go. So there's my butterfly. I'm going to pop him on here. I'd like his wings to be flying free, as it were. So I fold them up. I've put my thumb against the edge of the body and folded it, and then against the other side of the body and folded up the wing. And then I end up with just this little area on the back, which is where I put my glue. Thank you, Rosie. Rosie says it's worth pointing out that if you do cut up your stamps, it invalidates the Stampin' Up guarantee. That's right. So make sure you're happy with them. Make sure they're not faulty in any way. It's very unusual to get faulty stamps, but it sometimes happens. Once you're happy with them, if you want to cut them up, you can. Thank you for pointing that out, Rosie. Okay, I've got some rhinestones here. I don't know. 2 the right number for a butterfly body? I think probably it is. There we go. So there's a little bit of sparkle on this one. So that is my little pack of mini eggs. I can't remember how much they cost, but it's certainly not an expensive gift. And I don't know about people you know, but everybody I know loves mini eggs, first of all, and second of all, they're not remotely bothered about keeping them for Easter. In fact, the minute they start appearing in the shops, they will be very happy to be given some mini eggs. So that's my second mini gift to $1 Million. And I'm just going to show you one more, which is even quicker because I've done almost everything beforehand, because I thought I would be running out of time, which of course I am. So let me make just a little bit of a space here. Okay, so for this I've got the almost instant gift packaging, which is a tiny treat box. So these are made from food safe plastic. I don't know what kind of plastic it is. I don't know if it's acetate or something else, but they are ready to use. They come with this bit of kind of plastic stuck on them. It looks at first like the finish is faulty, but it's not. It's just to stop them getting scratched. So peel that off first of all. And then the box will open up. Now I'm sure this is very difficult to show you, but I'm hoping you'll be able to see what I'm showing you and what I mean, even though this is see-through. So you open up the box. I can put my fingers inside. You'll see which is the top and which is the bottom. The top has got 3 flaps and one of them is obviously going to tuck in, and the bottom has got 4 flaps. Before I do anything else, I fold and then open all the flaps. They are scored, but you get a much better finish to your box if you fold them before you actually construct the box. So I just fold each flap one by one inside and then open it up again, and that gives you a really good right angle fold on all the edges. Okay, and then I do the bottom first. So I fold in the biggest flap, which has got a notch out of one edge. I fold that one in first, then I fold in the 2 side flaps and push them, and they will kind of lock into the notch on that first flap, and then I push in the last flap all the way down, which will also lock in, and if it doesn't, you can pop your fingers inside. There we go. And again, I don't know if that will show. I wonder if I put something dark behind it, if that will be easier to see. I don't know if it is or not. My iPad hasn't caught up yet, so I can't see if you can see. Maybe you can. Yeah, I think you can, hopefully, as long as I can keep the light off it. Anyway, I've now got a box with a closed bottom, which is great. And then this is going to be the closure for the top. Now, I probably should apologise, but I won't, for putting mini eggs in it again. Like I said, lots of people I know really love mini eggs, so I'm just going to fill this up. Oh gosh, they've got that smell, haven't they? There's a broken one there. Look, I think I'm going to have to take that one out. I couldn't possibly give that to someone, could I? Okay, then I just fold down the side flaps on the top and tuck the flap in. So there I've got my box, which to be honest looks very appealing already with those pretty pastel colours. But I've got a piece of paper to go round it. Each side of this box is 2 inches. So cubic box has got 1, 2, 3, 4 sides to wrap the paper round. 4 2s are 8, so 8 inches round. I need an overlap, and also because I'm going around these corners on the outside, that takes up surprisingly just a little bit of paper as well. So I've cut this to, I think I cut it to 10 inches, a bit more. I cut it to about 10¼ inches, and I can always cut a bit off if my overlap is too big. Now I want my join in the paper to be at the bottom, so I'm going to bring the paper over and around it like that, and I'm going to try and wrap it so that I get the edge of the paper that's sitting on top near an edge. And I don't think I think there were too many word edge in that sentence. Let me show you instead. Okay, so this is the edge of the box, this is the edge of the paper, and if I've got my join on that edge, it's not going to notice too much. I mean, actually it's on the bottom, so it's not really going to notice at all. So what I'm going to do now is, that's going to be my last edge, but I'm going to start with it so I know it's going to start in the right place, and I'm going to pinch the paper as I wrap it round the box. Pinch it on the corners. I've tried doing this measuring it, and it's almost impossible to get the measurement correct because you need to measure in 30/2 of an inch, so like 1/16 of an inch. It's just too awkward, and actually this looks a bit Heath Robinson, but it works really well. So there we go. So I've now got a piece of paper with lots of folds in it, and I'm just going to reinforce those now with my bone folder to make sure that they're really crisp. So I'm just folding it on where I made those little pinch folds. And this paper is from the, now what is it? I looked it up before I started. It's the Forever Fern stamps that go with it. I'll have to look it up and tell you. Which one of these haven't I done? That one. I'll tell you what the suite is that this comes from. Got my catalogue here. I can never ever remember the name of this. Forever Greenery suite. There we go. It's in the Annual Catalogue. All right, so I've folded my paper. I've now got my box here. This is the front. This is going to go on the top. And you can see how beautifully this paper goes round now that I've really folded on all those score lines properly. So I just need some glue on here now to overlap. So this is going to be the last panel that goes on. I could use pretty much any of the glues for this. I'll use multi-purpose glue. It's nice and strong. There we are. Forever Green, Rosie saying, yeah, you're very close, Rosie. That's what I was thinking too. So thank you very much. Yes, the actual paper is called it's called Forever Greenery. Forever Greenery. Thank you, Rosie. Okay, and then it wanted some kind of embellishment on it. So I've used one of the gold hoops. These are lovely. They're just so pretty. The scale is perfect for a card, but they'll also go on boxes and bags and things like that. They're just made of gold metal. And I have stamped some of the Forever Fern images and die cut them with the coordinating dies. In that die set there are also some dies that just cut shapes, so I've cut out some of the card. I've used some of the, I think it's called Forever Gold, I think, die cut elements, and I've just stuck them on one of those little gold hoops. If you're sticking things to these gold hoops, you can use that fine tip glue pen, but it takes quite a long time to dry because it's a very watery glue. Or you can use multi-purpose glue, which is what I've used here, this one. or you can use mini glue dots. All of those things will hold things onto this metal. I've stamped a little banner. I took the Get Well Soon from the Blossoms in Bloom. There's all manner of sentiments in all sorts of stamp sets, so you can choose whatever you like. I didn't have a Happy Easter, believe it or not. I can't seem to find a Happy Easter, otherwise I might have used that. I went with Get Well Soon because, you know, who's not going to love being given some mini eggs if they're feeling under the weather? And that is just going to fit on the top of my box. So I'm going to put some multi-purpose glue on there. I'm just going to dot it around. I can see actually looking on the back of this I did use 1 or 2 mini glue dots as well, but all those adhesives I listed are brilliant on this. And just stick that onto the banner. It's slightly wider than the paper, but it just sits nicely on top of the box. Rosie's saying the arrange a wreath stamps for a Happy Easter. Yes, I don't have those, Rosie, but they are very, very lovely. They've been on my wish list. I haven't got them yet. Rosie's suddenly feeling unwell, and so is Faye. Yes, okay, ladies. Get well soon. Okay. Maureen's here. Hello, Maureen. Nice to have you. I don't think I've said hello to you yet, have I? If I have, I'll say hello again. But if I haven't, you're very welcome. So there we are. So that's my little box of mini eggs. So very simply, just a paper band, and you could put anything on the top. If you're short of time, just tie some ribbon round. It will look really, really pretty. So that's the third of my gifts for today. Let me pull them all back in and show you. So I made the yellow one, but the pink one is another sample. So that's the bar of chocolate gift. I'll put them all together at the end. This is the mini eggs in a little box gift, but it could be any manner of other things, just small and either cylindrical or rectangular. And then mini eggs in a box. So let me put here all the ones that I've actually made with you today. I hope that's given you a few ideas. A gift doesn't have to be, I don't know which way around to put those, doesn't have to be large to look really, really special and be very welcome. So I hope that this has inspired you to go and think about wrapping up a little something for somebody, whether it's to say thank you or get well or happy birthday, something that you haven't spent an awful lot of money on, but you spent a little bit of time and love packaging it up, and I'm sure that would be really, really appreciated. So I will see you here next week, and I'm just going to cover up my lens and turn it back so I can say a proper goodbye to you. Let's do that first. Just change these settings. There we go. Move my camera up. Hopefully I'm there. Okay, let's just see. Mary says thank you, are very welcome, and Rosie did, and Belinda did, and Lorraine did. You're all saying thank you, so thank you very much for joining me. It's been lovely to spend the afternoon with you. Yes, I'll be back here at 2 o'clock next week. I'll be making project using the Sand and Sea suite. I will also show you the suite sampler that's going to be available. It is available this month. Show you what's in it, give you some ideas, and I hope you have a lovely weekend. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.